talk about the storm, the hot mess phase, the storming phase that every leader is going to have to face. And it's inevitable. It's something that we all are going to have to face. So glad that you all are here tonight. Thank you all for all the love and support. I did have to take some time away. I had a unexpected loss in my family, so I want to first thank everybody that just showed love, support, allowed as a leader allowed me to just take time to just be with my family. So, thank you all for just the loving words, the support, because it meant a lot. I did a podcast and I talked about navigating grief and loss. And the interesting part is this process really allowed me to connect with leaders in a different way, because the reality is, especially as you're moving up in different tiers, is that, you have a struggle and you have this battle of taking the leadership hat off, because work still is there. If you have a team, your team is still there. And some of us struggle with taking that hat off. I even had a conversation with someone who navigated something where they did not attend a family member's funeral because they prioritize work and they felt bad about it. But that's the reality. There are a lot of people who make that decision. And it's not anything you should feel bad about, but that's just the reality. And having those conversations are so important. So, this journey was needed of me taking time away, unplugging, taking off the leadership hat, being with my family, but it allowed me to understand leadership in a different way. Self-leadership, right? Realizing that I needed to focus elsewhere. So I just want to thank you guys all for, giving me that time, but also giving me that support. It meant a lot. So if you haven't connected, maybe you recently liked my page. Who am I? I'm sure you have probably already read maybe my bio or my information, but you haven't. If you haven't, I'm Aisha Thomas, your organizational development and leadership consultant. If you want to contact me, that is my information. But what are we focusing on tonight? We are focused in on, this series is surrounded on back in the office, how to rebuild a team. Because now that you're going back into the office, there are going to be some things that you need to focus in on. It's not just going back into the office, going back to the regular norm practices that you were doing before. It's about really going in there with the plan, recognizing that you want to navigate leadership and connecting with them a lot differently. Because the reality is, I've heard from different members and team members and CEOs and just friends that work in different organizations who have said people are quitting, people are leaving, they're reprioritizing things. So you have to recognize that, the things that people are looking at are different. You have to be able to connect a little bit different. You really do have to connect a lot differently. So I want you to recognize the importance of really realizing how we need to go about leadership and connecting a different way, especially when it comes to team building. So again, we're going to talk about the storming phase. So what does that look like? What is the storming phase? All right. So this is phase 2 of the Tuckerman stages of team development. So storming is where there's conflict. There's conflict that is occurring on a team. So before I go into it, I actually want to share a clip. So if anybody has ever watched the movie, Remember the Titans, I love this clip, right? Because somebody was able to break down this really interesting movie. And again, although it's based around football, although it's based around, this was around a time where racial tensions were high. However, this was still stages of team development, because you had people that had different views, different perspectives that were coming together as a team, a football team, and they had one mission. But how, as these coaches, these leaders came together to put that team together, there was a process of forming, and there was a lot of storming. But there was some, additional steps within that we're going to go over throughout the weeks that also help them get to the point where you do remember the Titans, and you do see that they were able to really overcome a lot of the challenges that they had. So let's watch the video real quick so I can show you what storming looks like in action. So get ready, right? Because I love this great example, so you can see what it looks like in action.
You look like a bunch of 5th grade sissies after a cat fight. You got anger, that's good. You're gonna need it, son. You got aggression, that's even better. You're going to need that too. But any little 2-year-old child can throw a fit. Football is about controlling that anger, harnessing that aggression into a team effort to achieve perfection. Some coaches may cut a player if they think he's not up to snuff, when they think he's hurting the team. This is a public school program. I will never, ever cut a player who comes out to play for me. But when you put that uniform on, that Titan uniform, you better come to work. We will be perfect in every aspect of the game. You drop a pass, you run a mile. You miss a blocking assignment, you run a mile. You fumble the football, and I will break my foot off in your John Brown hind parts. And then you will run a mile. Perfection. Let's go to work.
All right. So in that, right? So again, as these individuals came together with opposing views, opposing perspectives, there was some conflict. Again, if you consider the time and the perspective of what was going on during this season for this group, they were navigating racial tension. Again, you're talking about this was two teams, or this was during a time where you had desegregation that was happening. So just imagine what type of season and what type of perspectives these young men were facing. Some people didn't support what was happening, which added to the conflict. And now we have to come together. And now you have coaches coming together with, again, a mission to bring everyone together to support this mission of building a team. So in that banter, in that conversation that you just heard, that passionate conversation that you saw this leader providing, that Denzel Washington plays, is to emphasize this is what we're here to do. This is the focus. But how many of us leaders are doing that? How many of us leaders are taking time to have those conversations when there is a storm? When things get hectic, to say, you know what, we have to make a shift. We have to make some changes. And typically in a storm, again, you'll have individuals questioning leadership. There's a lack of trust. So leadership and authority are questioned. Rules and policies are questioned. Inquiries about evaluations and reviews are requested. Things are just being challenged. Things are chaotic. Dominance emerges. Trust is tested. And it also can make or break a team. And us as leaders, our goal is for it to make the team and not break the team. That is the ultimate goal. We want to be makers of teams, not breakers of teams. And that's the reality. It is possible you might lose team members during this process. That is normal. That can happen, and it's okay. But it's how you handle the storm. And although, of course, the language utilized there, it might not be the same. Again, this is a different culture. However, we want to make sure that we are addressing and we are navigating these effectively. So the storms will happen, but what are you going to do to navigate it? And again, this is so you know, as a leader, you will navigate storm seasons. It is inevitable. It is something that you will face. So your authority might be questioned, your leadership are going to be questioned, but ensure that you address it. Rules and policies are going to be questioned. Make sure that you're able to address it. Inquiries about evaluations and reviews are requested. Have the sit downs, have those conversations. You might have conflict within team members. Sit them down, allow them to have the conversations. Make sure that they have solutions, set the groundwork, and ensure that everybody comes in with a solution. I always tell individuals, we can complain all day, but I need you to come in with a solution. It's not just about the complaint, it's about the solution as well. That is extremely important, right? Trust is tested. We want to make sure that we can build trust within a team. So it will be tested for sure. And it can make or break a team. But it all depends on how you navigate that. It will all depend on how you can navigate that, and you will be able to navigate it as a leader. So is the storm inevitable? Yes. But you can prepare for the storm. It's just like storm proofing. You know it's coming. You know it happens. So what are you going to do? Anytime a storm comes, what do people do? Go buy up all the water, all the toiletries. They get everything that they need to prepare for the storm. You can do the same thing to prepare for the storm. So when it does roll in, you're prepared. Even though you might not have needed all those boxes of tissue, even though you didn't need all that water, you don't even drink water, but it's good to have. Sandbags, everything you buy up. Order up all the Amazon boxes you need, but you're prepared. You need to do the same thing for your team because it will happen. All right. So one thing I want to make sure that you guys have done, I went back too much, is that you have plugged into my most recent podcast episode. And I was talking about it briefly, that I really talked about this most recent episode about navigating loss and grief, right? Loss, heartbreak, and grief. And it really was centered around, this current season that I was navigating when, I had a unfortunate passing of my nephew, and still having to navigate that personal side and also being a leader, right? What happens when your personal life is shaken up, but you still have to show up as a leader? I read a post earlier today in this military group that I'm in, and you have this member that has been in for 20 years, and he posted, man, I'm navigating something very painful at home. My spouse is struggling. And every day I show up with a mask, but it's getting harder. What do I do? And as someone that has experienced it, take time off. It was the best thing that I could have done. It's the best thing you can do. And these are conversations we need to be able to have because, again, you do have a lot of leaders who do sacrifice that time off. They continue to wear the mask. But in reality, we need to normalize that emotions. We all have emotions. We all take those in the workplace. But it is okay for us to take time off and work on ourselves, take care of our personal lives, get the help we need before we return back to the workplace, get things in order. And as leaders, we can really create spaces to normalize and make that okay. Look at what Nike just did. It let individuals take off an entire week to focus on themselves. I loved seeing that. So let's set the tone and be leaders of change. So make sure you guys go check that out. That's available on all podcast platforms. I let my heart out on this one. It's personal to me. So make sure you go check out episode 24. Available on all podcast platforms. And it's called Internal Fire. All right. So as always, I appreciate you guys tuning in tonight, right? So I'm Aisha Thomas, your organizational development and leadership consultant. If you want to reach me, please check me out on aishathomas.org. Shoot me an email at info@aishathomas.org, or follow me on social media at Miss Aisha Thomas, or you can also check out my YouTube videos at the Miss Isha. It should be also in the notes. And that's where you can find those team development strategies. I have a whole employee retention series. And of course, if this information is beneficial for you, or you know someone that can benefit from it, make sure you like and share it, right? Like it so it can get to the other worlds of Facebook, right? And also make sure you share it, right? Because there might be somebody that could benefit from understanding, like, man, I don't understand why I'm going through this storm, or why I don't understand this process of team development. And we're going to continue to navigate this conversation. All right. So catch me next week, and you guys have an amazing night. And I'm looking forward to talking to you guys again. All right. Good night.